Good morning, everybody. I'm Lindsay Reiser in for Savannah Sellers.
And I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, signs of progress. The Federal Reserve's fight to bring down inflation may finally be working. New data shows the economy is still growing faster than expected, even as the job market starts to cool off. So will the Fed be able to hit that soft landing and avoid a recession? We have the latest on what it all means for you and your bottom line. Moment of silence, a candlelight vigil at the University of Idaho for the 4 students who were killed last month. We'll tell you how they're being remembered this morning and where the investigation into their deaths stands right now. Making their case, closing arguments from the prosecution and defense are set to begin this morning in the Trump Organization's tax fraud trial. We'll take a look at where things stand for both sides and how the outcome of this trial could impact the former president. And holiday priorities. With just a few weeks to go until the holidays, the race is on to get those gifts wrapped up and shipped out. After last season's supply chain nightmares, are there ways to make sure your presents will get under the tree in time this year? We've got some helpful tips for you this morning on when to send those gifts and how to save some money while doing it. You're, of course, done with your holiday shopping, right?
Stresses me out. I don't even have a list. I'm so behind.
You've still got time. It's December 1st.
Not according to that tease.
Right, okay. You have to ship everything by Saturday.
Yeah.
No, all right. Okay. We'll get that in a little bit. We're going to begin this hour with some positive signs for the economy as we do head into the holiday season.
Despite high interest rates and record inflation, there are new indications that the economic outlook is a bit brighter than it was earlier this year. NBC's Tom Costello has the latest.
Hey there, for most of this year, the Federal Reserve has been waging this aggressive campaign to bring down 40-year high inflation. It's been raising interest rates at a pace not seen in decades. That impacts mortgage rates, credit cards, new loans, and now new evidence that inflation may be starting to wane. And in the meantime, the possibility of a rail strike very much hinges on what Congress does. With the holiday season in full swing, this morning Congress is taking steps to stop that looming rail strike. The House passing a bill that forces an agreement between rail companies and their workers. It now goes to the Senate, where it faces a harder path, but leaders there working to pass it quickly to avoid disrupting holiday shipping and potentially rocking the economy, which right now is showing new signs of strength despite record inflation. Revised government stats show the economy grew faster than expected in the third quarter, with GDP rising at an annual rate of 2.9%. And there's evidence the job market is cooling off. A new Labor Department survey shows job openings fell in October to 10.3 million from 10.7 million the previous month. And that's actually good news because the shortage of workers has been driving up wages and feeding inflation. Hopeful signs for the Federal Reserve following its aggressive series of interest rate hikes while it tries to tamp down inflation. Now the Fed chairman, Jay Powell, is signaling the central bank will slow the pace of those rate increases this month from 3/4 of a point hike to a half-point hike.
It makes sense to moderate the pace of our rate increases as we approach the level of restraint that will be sufficient to bring inflation down.
That was welcome news on Wall Street, with the Dow surging more than 700 points on Wednesday. Still, Chairman Powell says rates will have to remain high for an extended period. If the U.S. manages to avoid an economic downturn, experts say it will be driven by strong consumer spending.
If we're out there spending, the economy should be able to move forward without an economic downturn.
It comes as shoppers are bringing holiday cheer to retailers. The National Retail Federation says nearly 197 million people flocked to stores from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday.
I've shopped like never before. I think the prices were really good.
We do have another hopeful sign here about the economy. Gas prices coming down, and rather dramatically. The national average right now, national average $3.47 a gallon, down 28 cents in a month. And yes, we know $5 a gallon out in California. But overall, an amazing come down from where we were back in June at $5 a gallon. And that's real money in people's pockets. Back to you.
Tom, thanks so much.
Now to the still unsolved mystery surrounding the killings of 4 students at the University of Idaho. The community, along with family members of the victims, held a vigil overnight in their memory as authorities continue to search for their killer. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky joins us now with the latest. Morgan, good morning.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. And it really was equal parts emotional and powerful. These grief-stricken parents pouring out their hearts to thousands inside a packed football stadium who listened to them in absolute silence. Police here in Moscow assure everyone that progress is being made on this case, but with the killer still at large, the fear here absolutely remains.
At the University of Idaho, emotional pleas and prayers.
And we ask that the memory of Ethan, Kaylee, Xana, and Madison be a light that dispels the shadow of these days.
As friends and family of the 4 students lost came together to grieve. The father of Kaylee Gonzalez, sharing his beloved daughter, was with her best friend, Maddie Mogan, in their final moments.
They came here together, and in the end, they died together in the same room, in the same bed.
Other schools across the state held similar vigils. The families and the public still looking for answers. Early in the investigation, police described the attack as targeted, but didn't disclose their basis for that conclusion. This week, the county prosecutors saying targeted may not have been the right word, but that the killer was focused on the house.
Investigators believe that whoever's responsible was specifically looking at this particular residence.
And telling another reporter that a resident was targeted. But his office then saying that was a miscommunication. And Moscow police saying detectives do not currently know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted.
Is there anything investigators can tell this community to ease their fears about a potential murderer being out there?
Well, what I can say is that we continue to investigate 24/7. We have 50 agents and detectives on the ground.
With no suspects named and no murder weapon found, police are turning to the public to help fill in a detailed timeline.
It would be nice to know maybe who they interacted with, maybe what routes they took to go home.
A community shaken to its core, still waiting for answers.
Make sure that you spend as much time as possible with those people because time is precious and it's something you can't get back.
A tough night for so many here in Moscow. Police say no suspect, no person of interest named, but they are optimistic about the progress of this investigation. In the meantime, a chilling detail from a top criminal profiler who told NBC News they wouldn't be surprised if the killer themselves was at last night's vigil or similar events to witness the traumatic aftermath of this horrific crime. In fact, that fear has kept one family from having a funeral service. They are postponing it for the time being out of concern that could actually take place. Joe.
That is a disturbing thought. Morgan, thanks so much for that report.
Turning now to the triple-demic threat overwhelming hospitals. Cases of RSV and COVID are rising, and now the CDC says there are millions of flu cases across the country. NBC News correspondent Erin McLaughlin joins us now with more. Erin, good morning.
Good morning, Lindsay. With 76% of pediatric beds occupied nationwide, no corner of the country is being spared. In Virginia, health officials confirming the state's first pediatric flu-related death. Doctors are urging everyone to take precautions against the flu, COVID, and RSV.
With the holiday season in full swing and Thanksgiving travel reaching nearly pre-pandemic levels, new cases of the flu, RSV, and COVID are expected to keep rising.
Because of travel patterns last week, we expect rates will go up evenly, probably across the country.
The CDC reporting high or very high respiratory illness activity within 35 states, with at least 6.2 million influenza cases reported so far. Across the U.S., flu activity is more than 20 times higher compared to last year. The spike happening at the same time it's becoming more difficult in some regions to find certain medications needed to ease symptoms, like children's ibuprofen and Tamiflu.
The combination of the high viral activity and the lack of some of these available remedies and treatments is creating a worsening of this triple-demic.
Here in California, new RSV cases are overwhelming many children's hospitals. Orange County extending its RSV and flu-related emergency declaration after ER visits to its main children's hospital doubled. On social media, a parent sharing her baby's terrifying experience. Marissa Clark spent Thanksgiving in the hospital with her son, Brixon.
He was really struggling to breathe.
The 3-month-old was diagnosed with RSV and went into respiratory failure. After 5 days in the pediatric ICU, baby Brixon is finally home.
Making sure that you're catching that stuff before it gets too late.
And with the winter holidays approaching, Dr. Patel reminds us there's some simple steps you can take to protect you and your loved ones against the flu and COVID-19. Masks are readily available, and make sure that your flu shot and COVID boosters are up to date. Lindsay?
Yeah, those images are so hard, but great advice, Aaron. Thanks so much.
Now to the latest developments in the criminal tax fraud trial against the Trump Organization. It could soon be wrapping up with closing arguments set to begin today. NBC News investigative correspondent Tom Winter joins us now from outside the courthouse. So, Tom, this is a pretty complex case, and we should point out former President Trump has denied any wrongdoing. He's not been personally charged in the case. But walk us through what the company is being accused of here.
Right, Joe. So this all centers around this idea that the company essentially, according to the indictment, was in cahoots with its former CFO, Alan Weisselberg, or vice versa, depending upon how you look at it or your point of view from the attorneys in this case, that they were working together not only for Weisselberg to receive these perks kind of off the books, not paying taxes on an apartment and a car and tuition for his grandkids for school and avoiding income taxes, but that, in fact, the Trump Organization, and we're looking at its headquarters, that they were working together to not have to pay certain payroll taxes, and that the company also benefited from Weisselberg's scheme, which he's pleaded guilty to. And so that's the ultimate question here, is whether or not the Trump Organization not only benefited, but they were working hand in hand with Weisselberg to be able to get these benefits, Joe.
So what can we expect from the closing arguments today?
Right. So I think both sides are going to kind of key in on Alan Weisselberg's testimony, but also this idea that we've been talking about since, frankly, before this trial began. And it centers around this. Did Alan Weisselberg could do this on behalf of himself for his own personal greed, as he stated on the witness stand, or did he do it as part of an effort with the Trump Organization so that the Trump Organization could benefit, as well as Weisselberg? And of course, he's the chief financial officer, still on the payroll, even though he's on leave of absence, and has the opportunity to get a $500,000 bonus in January. So it was a weird situation where he's testifying against the company that he has a bonus coming up for in just a couple of months.
That is unusual. So what does it prosecutors need to prove in order to get a conviction, and what kind of punishment then could the Trump Organization face if convicted?
Right, and that's really what their argument to the jury will be about today, is this idea of, okay, not only did the Trump Organization get a benefit out of this, but they willfully did it, and they did it with Weisselberg working with several others, and some of those individuals have testified at this trial to be able to get a benefit for the Trump Organization. So they've already got the guilty plea from Weisselberg. Now they're going to try to say that Weisselberg and others worked together to give the Trump Organization a benefit, and so they should be convicted. That's what we're going to hear from prosecutors. If convicted, the maximum penalty here, well, obviously they're not going to take the Trump headquarters into custody or march it into jail. We're looking at just a fine here, Joe, of just shy of $1.6 million.
All right. Tom Winter in New York. Tom, thank you. Time for a check of your morning news now. Weather.
Meteorologist Michelle Grossman joins us now. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, guys. Great to see you. And it's the first day of December, feeling like December and looking like December in many spots, especially out west. We're looking at heavy rain, heavy snow in portions of the Intermountain West, into portions of California, and then that will push into the northern plains tomorrow, eventually into the upper Midwest. In the middle of the country, we are dry. That's good news. Lots of sunshine. It's cool, chilly in the northern plains, and we're mild and bright throughout the southern plains, 50s and 60s in Oklahoma and also Texas. Further to the east, we're dry along the east coast. We cleared out that rain from yesterday. A little leftover snow showers in portions of northern New England. Could see some lake effect snow showers, especially downwind of Lake Ontario, Lake Erie. Windy, though, today, so it's going to be a little blustery with temperatures much colder than yesterday. Then as we go throughout Friday, that heavy snow moves off into the northern plains, eventually into the upper Midwest as well. Heavy, heavy snow falling in the Sierra Mountains. We're looking looking at up to 2, maybe even 3 feet of snow. Lower elevation rain. I'll show you that in just a few minutes. Mild and breezy still in portions of the southern plains. We're up to the 60s and 70s. That's going to feel good. And then sunny in the east on Friday to end out our work week. Lots of sunshine. Temperatures chilly still in the 40s. And that's before rain comes on Saturday. So we're going to up those temperatures on Saturday, but it's going to come in a price with some rain and also breezy conditions. Could see a little wintry weather in portions of northern New England, and that rain will stretch down into the southeast. So it's going to be a wet day for many on Saturday. We're not talking about heavy rain, but still light showers as you're out and about, maybe doing some Christmas shopping. Much colder in the middle of the country, with temperatures in the 40s, but at least we're dry. And then we're watching another storm coming on shore into the Pacific Northwest. Heavy snow once again. We're looking at lower elevation rain. This is really going to help the drought. I know it's not fun on the weekend, but we do need the rain out west. So that's going to be good news as we near Saturday and also Sunday. Look at Sunday, more rain, more snow. A nice day in portions of the southeast. Rain falling in the Tennessee Valley, the lower Mississippi Valley that was hit hard yesterday, Tuesday, and also Wednesday. Brisk conditions along the Great Lakes, and it's chilly in the Northeast with temperatures in the 30s and 40s. That extends down into the mid-Atlantic. This is what the cross-country storm looks like. So this is our next storm system that's going to move across the country. We're looking at snow. That's where you see the blue on the map. The lighter colors, closer to the white color, is the heaviest snow. We're looking at heavy rain, too. That's where you're seeing the brighter colors, the reds, the oranges, the yellows in Northern California. That's going to move down to the south as we head throughout the day. So we could see up to 2 inches of rain in some spots. That's going to cause some flooding, especially in burned areas. So soaking rain in the Southern California and Central California. Now, as we go throughout tomorrow, that cold front's going to quickly move into the plains, also the upper Midwest. Notice once again some blue on the map. We're looking at some snow in the upper Midwest, also the northern plains, before it moves into the Northeast as rain on Saturday. So 7 million people impacted by winter alerts. We have winter weather advisories. That's in your white. Winter storm watches in the blue, and a winter storm warning. We are looking at the pink there. That's where we could see up to 2 to 3 feet of snow. Snowfall forecast, where you see the pinks and purples, that is the highest amount. So Sierra Mountains, also the Cascades into the Rockies. We're looking at light snow into portions of the northern plain, but look at that. We're going to up that snowpack. That is good news. And we're looking at heavy, heavy rain in portions of central and southern California Saturday and also Sunday. Additional snowfall in the Great Lakes. Notice, remember all that snow we got maybe, what was it, 2 weeks ago? I forget now. South of Watertown, we're looking at some lake effect snow today, maybe up to 8 inches in some spots. It's going to be windy, too, with winds gusting up to 50 miles per hour. Where you see the blue, that is your wind advisory. So portions of New England, Maine, down into upstate New York, and also Connecticut, Vermont. And it's going to be windy. I mean, that's pretty windy. It's going to be windy here, a little chilly as well. So you need the layers.
A cold wind.
A cold wind.
All right.
It's winter.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah.
More international headlines this morning. Officials are investigating an explosion that killed at least 10 students at a school in Afghanistan.
NBC News foreign correspondent Claudia Lavanga joins us from Rome with this and other world news. Claudia, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yes, a Taliban official has confirmed that on Wednesday at least 10 students were killed after a bomb went off in a religious school in the north of Afghanistan. A video that was also released by the Taliban that allegedly shows the aftermath of the blast shows dead bodies and bloodstains on the floor. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, though the Islamic State has been responsible for similar attacks in the country in the past. Let's go to South Korea, where Oh Young-soo, the 78-year-old actor playing the elderly contestant in a Netflix series Squid Game, will stand trial on charges of indecent assault. According to local media, a woman filed a complaint against Oh in December last year, accusing him of making unwanted physical contact during a meeting in 2017. Young-soo, who became the first South Korean actor to win a Golden Globe for his role, denies any wrongdoing. And let's move to Britain, where the Royal Mint issued a new collectible coin to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Rolling Stones. The coin features an image of Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Ronnie Wood, and the late drummer Charlie Watts performing. The Rolling Stones did write a song called Money in 1964, in which Mick Jagger kept singing repeatedly, "I want money, that's all I want." But in the end, he got it. Money with his face on it.
Very
I can manifest that.
Yeah, no kidding. Sing the song. 60 years, that's unreal. I guess rock and roll is like, keeps you young.
Yeah,
or something.
amazing.
Thanks, Claudio.
Coming up, a big breakthrough in the fight against Alzheimer's disease.
We're going to break down data from a promising new drug to treat patients and also the potential side effects it can cause. That's coming up next.
We are back with promising new results from an early clinic trial aimed at treating the most common form of dementia. And the results showed an experimental drug was able to slow the progression of early-stage Alzheimer's disease by 27%.
Well, researchers say there are still large risks to the medication. They say it is a major step forward in Alzheimer's research. Let's bring in Dr. Madhav Tambazzetti to break down these results. He's the director of the Clinical and Translational Neuroscience Unit at the National Institute of Aging. Doctor, good to have you with us. So first of all, walk us through the results from this clinical trial. What is it you're seeing? Are you seeing results that are a sign of hope?
Thanks a lot for having me on the show. It's a real pleasure. So this particular clinical trial marks a landmark in the field because it's for the first time in several decades that an experimental drug has been shown to slow the progression of the disease. And so as a scientist, this is quite a major milestone. But as a physician caring for patients with Alzheimer's disease, there are also several caveats that come to my mind. And one is, as you've already said, there are some side effects associated with the drug. There's an increased risk of brain bleeds in some patients. There's an increased risk of brain swelling in some. And while in most patients, these might be mild and some may not even show symptoms, there are some in whom significant problems can develop. And these include headaches, confusion, falls, disturbances in vision. And so these side effects might become important as we start administering the drug if it's approved. The other caveat to bear in mind is that in this clinical trial, the benefit associated with the drug appears to be quite small. And it's unclear how meaningful this might be for patients. And it's unlikely that patients are going to be able to see obvious differences on a day-to-day basis if they receive this medication. So while the scientist in me is excited at this development, it's a major landmark in the field, the physician in me urges caution in this optimism as well.
Doctor, why is Alzheimer's so difficult to treat?
There are a couple of reasons. One reason is that we really don't know what drives the disease. We don't have a precise handle on what causes the disease. And so a lot of research over the past few decades has focused on the buildup of toxic proteins in the brain. And many scientists believe that it is these toxic proteins that drive the disease process. And this particular drug that we're talking about today is targeted to remove one such protein from building up. It clears this protein from the brain. But there are other scientists who disagree, and they believe that these proteins really are not driving the disease process. They're markers of damage that has already happened, sort of like tombstones in a graveyard, and that removing these proteins really does not help patients with the disease. So there's a lot of discussion and debate. And so unless we have a better understanding of what drives the disease process, we're not going to be able to develop effective treatments or a cure for this condition.
All right, Dr. Tambazzetti, thanks so much for joining us this morning to help break it down and explain this. We really do appreciate that.
Officials in San Francisco have voted to allow police the ability to use potentially lethal robots in emergency situations. But the police are insisting these robots are nothing new. Valerie Castro has the details for us.
This police robot, as menacing as it looks now, isn't a deadly weapon, at least not yet. It's currently equipped to defuse bombs. But a Tuesday night vote by the San Francisco Board of Supervisors,
the amended item number 28 passes by a vote of 8-3,
allows San Francisco PD to outfit current department robots similar to this with explosive charges.
Your move, creep.
When it comes to police robots, science fiction movies make us think of these nightmare scenarios. But in real life, a spokesperson for the SFPD says they'll only be used to contact, incapacitate, or disorient violent, armed, or dangerous suspects when lives are at stake.
We're talking about using a robot that we've had for 11 years in the San Francisco Police Department. This is not brand new. We use the robots every single day.
Critics worry the move will create a police state. The city's public defender tweeting, "We are a city, not a military." Before the vote, some supervisors voicing their concerns that this could be crossing that line.
This is a local police force here to protect us. This is not the U.S. military that we are arming. And there is serious potential for misuse and abuse of this military-grade technology.
This should not become the preferred way that we take down people
that are committing crimes. While some in favor of the vote argued the narrative is backwards and the tool could actually be used to save lives.
If I didn't know any better, you would think SFPD just woke up one day and thought it would be really cool to go out and get some killer robots and go terrorize the community. And that's not at all what's happening here. It's fear-mongering against the police.
A police robot with explosives might sound far-fetched, but the method has been deployed before. In 2016, during a mass shooting in Dallas, police there scrambled to equip a remote-controlled robot with a bomb to kill a sniper who shot 12 police officers and killed 5 during a protest.
Our thanks to Valerie Castro for that report. The policy is only to use these robots in extremely limited situations, such as risk of loss of life to members of the public or officers. But critics still say a human being should be there to make the decision to use deadly force.
Now to financial news, starting with Salesforce co-CEO Bret Taylor, who announced his departure from the company yesterday.
For this and more financial news, CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us for more. Good morning, Silvana.
Good morning. All right, so we're going to start with the sudden departure of Salesforce co-CEO Bret Taylor, weighing on shares pre-market despite better than expected third quarter results. This is the second time in less than 3 years that founder Mark Benioff has lost a co-CEO. The news surprised investors since Taylor had only been in the role for a year and had quickly climbed the ranks since his startup Quip was purchased by Salesforce in 2016. LastPass, the password managing app, just disclosed another data breach, except this time user data was exposed. The company says hackers accessed the data through a third-party cloud storage device used by LastPass. It's not yet clear what information hackers gained access to or how many customers have been impacted, but the company did say customers' passwords remain safe. Neuralink founder Elon Musk expects the company's wireless brain chip to begin human clinical trials in 6 months. The company is developing brain chip interfaces that could ultimately aid disabled patients who have trouble moving and communicating. During an event yesterday, Musk said the company was also working to use the technology to restore vision. It's important to note that the company has previously missed earlier timelines set by Musk. Lindsay and Joe? Musk has a lot going on.
I was just going to say, he's a busy guy
He's got a lot on his plate, yeah.
All right, Silvana, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Probably realize it is December 1st. That means the clock is ticking to get all your Christmas presents delivered after you buy them, especially if you have to ship them. NBC News correspondent Jacob Soberaff has more on what you need to know to avoid a shipping nightmare this holiday season.
Hey, what's up? Christmas 24 days away, but who is counting? Santa's packing his sleigh. The rest of us are going to be at places like the post office this time of year. The cost of just about everything is going up, and that includes shipping as well. That's why we got these hacks to let you know how to get your packages where you want them to go on time. Make sure everybody's happy on Christmas.
3, 2, 1.
This morning, the tree lights are on, and so is the Christmas crunch. With more than $20 billion already spent on Black Friday and Cyber Monday combined, the focus now getting those gifts under the tree in time for Christmas. It comes after last year's Ship-A-Geddon nightmare marked by record delays and out-of-stock messages, all part of the supply chain crisis that was caused by COVID outbreaks and record consumer demand. While a repeat isn't expected this year, experts say prepare to pay more to send presents by mail. FedEx, UPS, and the U.S. Postal Service are already implementing peak holiday pricing. USPS says their first class and ground services will cost an extra $5.85 for heavy packages sent more than 600 miles.
Labor charges are leading all the major shipping carriers to put some extra fees on shipping costs, which they are definitely passing on to consumers.
Still, there are plenty of ways to save on shipping. The Postal Service offers free packaging supplies. And you can stretch your dollar with other services by reusing old boxes and padded envelopes, as long as they're in good condition. But keep in mind, packing with less will save you more.
Put packages in the absolutely smallest box they have available.
You can also cut costs by cutting out the middleman. Buy gifts online and have them shipped directly to the recipient. Many retailers even offer complimentary wrapping and an option to include a gift receipt. No matter how you ship, to ensure delivery by Christmas Day, keep an eye on the calendar. To take advantage of FedEx's cheapest service, be sure to mail those presents by the 14th. The Postal Service needs them by the 17th for ground shipping. and UPS's timing varies by distance. But upgrading to 3-day select will buy you until the 20th to send your gifts. Still, insiders advise 'tis the season to be proactive. Waiting to send gifts until the last minute can put your delivery at risk of unforeseen weather and processing delays. Meaning when it comes to shipping, it never hurts to be an eager elf.
One more pro tip, you got to show up midweek and show up 30 minutes after this place opens, after the post office opens. That's the best time to get in line, to get in and out quickly, and to get those deals that we're talking about. So don't show up on the weekends. Don't show up at the beginning or the end of the week. That's not going to do you any good.
All right, some good advice, Jacob. Thank you so much. Yeah,
I made that mistake.
Coming up on Morning News Now, history at the World Cup.
Yeah, we will tell you how a group of female referees is making waves in Qatar ahead of today's match between Germany and Costa Rica. That's next. Welcome back. History is coming to the Men's World Cup today. FIFA announced that the first all-female crew to call a men's game is taking the pitch. France's Stephanie Frapper, Brazil's Naisa Back, and Mexico's Karen Diaz will be the sole referees at Germany and Costa Rica's matchup today. Frapper already made history last week as the first ever woman to officiate a Men's World Cup game, and now will also become the first female head referee. And I always think with these firsts, I'm always amazed, like, this hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet, but it's cool that it is.
Yes.
Love to see that. Very cool. All right, the end of an era is almost upon us, as Trevor Noah will soon say goodbye to The Daily Show. But the comedian is keeping busy with a new Netflix special. Noah spoke with our friends over at Today earlier this morning. Here's a portion of that conversation.
How hard is it to say goodbye to a job that is among the most coveted in our industry?
I think it's extremely difficult, but not because of the job part. It's difficult because of all the people that I do the job with, you know. I'm sure you know what it's like. Everyone becomes, you know, not a family, but a team. Yeah. You know, there's a team that you enjoy doing things with. There's people that you enjoy making jokes with and creating ideas with and figuring out what the puzzle is going to be. And I think that's the most difficult part because it becomes part of the routine of your heart.
Are you scared?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. I think anything worth doing should scare you. You know, so I was scared to take the job. You know, I was scared to leave the job. You know, I'll be scared to do the next project, hopefully. I always think to myself, if you're not scared to try something or to do something, then, you know, like, why are you doing it? Like, walking should be something that shouldn't scare you.
Yeah, right.
I just walk. Walking doesn't scare me, but everything else in life that's exciting scares me a little bit.
I mean, you've had so many big interviews to look back on. I cannot believe you just had Will Smith. This is somebody we've all wanted to hear from.
Yeah.
What kind of an impression did he leave on you after that interview?
I think he left the impression of a human being, you know? And I think that's what I'm trying to do in life, is try and connect with my humanity. I'm a human being. People are human beings. We're all experiencing something. We're all going through something. We're all trying to figure out who we are and how we relate to the world. And so, funny enough, that's what I'm consciously trying to think of when I engage in the news, when I engage in my comedy, when I travel the world. It's always in the top of my mind.
Why did you want to leave the show? What was it?
Well, it's not that I wanted to leave the show. It's that I needed to find a way to make time for everything else that's happening in life. You know, I realized during the pandemic, everyone talks about a work-life balance, but that almost, you know, creates the idea that your work and your life are two separate things. Yeah. When in fact, I came to realize during the pandemic, it's a life balance. It's your life. You're living your life right now. I'm living my life right now. Your life doesn't stop because you're working or not working. And so if you want to make more time for family, if you want to make more time for friends and what you want to do, and everything, you know, time is the one thing we cannot increase.
I love that.
You know, so it was a case of like, make more time, find a way to create that time.
Let's talk about your Netflix special. It's so funny. You do such great presidential impressions. Which one's the easiest and which one's the toughest?
It depends. It really depends. You know, because it's funny, like, my favorite one is Obama. Because,
let's hear a little.
But whenever I do it to him, like, I'll say it to him, you know, he'll see me and be like, Trevor, what's going on? And then I'll say that to him. I'll be like, Mr. President, good to see you. And he's like, I don't sound like that, Trevor. And I'm like, but you do. You sound exactly like that. Then he's like, no, I don't. So I love playing with him on that. You know, and he was on the show recently, and it's just fun. I think because, like, I play with more the caricature of who they are in my head.
In your head.
Than, like, the specific. I'm not trying to impersonate them. I'm trying to impersonate the character of who they are to me.
You do a good Clinton?
I don't really, actually.
No, you don't?
No, because I just remember like all the stories he'll tell. I mean, you've met him, and it's just like, you know, he's just got that chilled out, very, you know, oh, did I ever tell you about the time you were in Louisiana, weren't you? And I was also in Louisiana for a while. You know what I mean? He just always has a story about everything. That's all I know about him.
It wasn't a bad Bill Clinton right there. Trevor Noah's final Daily Show is going to air next Thursday, December 8th on Comedy Central. A new host will take over the show beginning in January. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now. Good morning, everybody. I'm Lindsay Reiser in for Savannah Sellers.
And I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, signs of progress. The Federal Reserve's fight to bring down inflation may finally be.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.